The morning in Gillian's family, as always, begins with a commotion. The young woman is raising 3 children of varying ages. Stepdaughter Farren is scandalous and willful, like all teenagers. The middle son, Ian, enjoys coming up with crazy stories and pranks. This morning, for example, he booby-trapped his older sister's hair dryer. And adorable little girl Nora is a fan of pink and princesses. Gillian adores her children and manages to find an approach to each of them. The woman is romantically involved with her neighbor, Bob Ho, a humble pen salesman. The children do not like their mother's suitor, they find him too boring and unimpressive. In the evening, Bob and Gillian go out to dinner at a restaurant to celebrate the 3rd month of their relationship. The man wants to tell his girlfriend about his real job. He has serious intentions, so he is ready to reveal the whole truth about himself. Gillian stops her suitor in mid-sentence. She is afraid to take the relationship to the next level, as she wants to give the children time to get used to Bob. Their conversation is interrupted by an emergency text message, after which the man is forced to say goodbye to Gillian and leave the date. Bob arrives at a showroom and enters the intelligence headquarters through a secret door. In fact, Ho is an experienced Chinese intelligence operative working with the CIA. For a long time, he has been tracking down Russian mafia boss Anton Poldark, who plans to sabotage the world's oil reserves. At the CIA's secret headquarters, colleagues inform Bob that the bandit has finally revealed himself and infiltrated an oil refinery with 2 accomplices. The spy and his partner Colton James go after the Russians. Bob leaves his colleague outside waiting for a signal, and with the help of spy Gizmo sneaks into the building unnoticed. He quickly dispatches the accomplices and rushes in pursuit of their ringleader Anton Poldark. The men are not inferior to each other in martial arts, but Bob, nevertheless, manages to catch the mobster. Colton shows up in the building with the SWAT team and apprehends the bandit. Upon his return to headquarters, everyone applauds Bob and congratulates him on another mission successfully accomplished. Capturing Poldark is the spy's last task before he retires for a quiet family life with Gillian. Glaze, Bob's boss, regrets that their best agent is leaving them. He gives him a wristwatch as a memento of his time at the CIA. Now Bob takes on a new mission: to do whatever it takes to get Gillian's children to like him. The next day he arrives at her house with a bouquet of flowers and apologizes for running away from the romantic dinner. While he is seen by little Nora, he deftly climbs onto the roof and removes a stuck cat from it. Gillian shows Bob her unfinished painting. They discuss their plans for their future together. The woman wants to get married, but worries about whether Bob can love and accept her unruly children. Ho is madly in love with her and is ready to marry everyone in the family, including the pets. Their conversation is overheard by Ian and he reports the adults' plans to his sisters. The children come out to object to the wedding. They list all of Bob's bad qualities, up to and including the fact that he looks like a cyborg. Gillian tries to explain to the children that she likes Bob's kindness and honesty. After her husband left the family, she really wants a simple family happiness with a reliable man. Her words do not convince the children and they plot to get rid of their mother's boring suitor. Meanwhile, unknown assailants raid the prison convoy that was transporting Poldark. Everything points to the fact that there is a mole in the department who helped the criminals organize their escape. The helicopter takes the leader of the Russian mafia to a hangar where he meets his mistress, Tatiana Creel. The criminals plan to devise a substance that is supposed to corrupt oil around the world. So, he plans to become the only oil tycoon. While a team of scientists develop the right formula, he tells his assistants to get him some inconspicuous American clothes. At night, Bob climbs to the roof of Gillian's house in a ninja costume to fix her television antenna. The man secretly helps his darling so as not to reveal his spy skills. Gillian tries to mend her relationship with her stepdaughter, but the girl throws another tantrum and they have a fight. The spy accidentally overhears Farren talking to her friend on the phone. She complains about Bob and doesn't want him to take her father's place. The girl hopes that her dad will one day come back to the family. The next morning, Bob decides to take the family to a picnic to get Gillian's children to like him. He receives a call from Colton informing him that Poldark has escaped. He asks his former partner for one last request: to hack into a file connected to the criminals. Bob reluctantly agrees to help and proceeds to the computer lab hidden in the house's lockers. The man tries to figure out the coded key to decrypt the file, but is interrupted by the doorbell. An agitated Gillian tells the man that her father hurt his hip at a softball game and will have to undergo surgery. The woman has to leave for a few days and plans to leave the children with a relative. Bob gets a chance to prove himself and offers to watch the children for Gillian. She cautiously agrees, wondering what kind of torture her troublemakers will subject the man to. As expected, the children are not thrilled with the temporary babysitter. They'd rather go to an orphanage or a maximum security penitentiary instead of a weekend in his company. As Bob heads off to pack his bags, the kids set about exploring his house to find dirt on their neighbor. Ian breaks into Bob's computer and mistakes a classified file for a rare concert recording. The boy downloads the file to a disk to show off to his cool classmates. This action does not go unnoticed, and Tatiana determines that the formula with the secret bacteria has already been downloaded by someone on another device. Poldark is unhappy with his new rapper outfit and the prospect that China or the United States might invent an antidote if the formula falls into their hands. Tatiana promises to locate the burglar and deal with him. The evening at Gillian's house passes with the sound of a squabble. Ian fires a smoke bomb into his room and blames it on his stepsister. Bob tries to keep the kids quiet, but they fight and lie that their mother lets them stay up late. Nora plays catch up with Bob around the house, not wanting to go to bed. Eventually, he manages to get the kids to bed, which he reports to Gillian over the phone. She asks her boyfriend to continue the conversation about his work, but he wants to tell her the startling truth on her return. In the morning, Bob tries to make breakfast for the children, but he is not as good at it as he is at spying. The food burns and begins to smoke. A fire alarm goes off in the house, deafening everyone present. He takes the older children to school and realizes he needs to do something to entertain little Nora. They head to the mall in search of a Halloween costume. At school, Ian brags to the cool kids about his rare CD. The bullies don't believe the nerd and decide to listen to the recording. Turning it on, they hear a grinding and crackling sound. As punishment for lying, they grab the boy by his underpants and throw him in the trash. At the mall, Bob tries to pick out a suitable princess dress for Nora. One is the wrong color, the other is too big. While the man is looking for the right size, the little princess manages to escape and gets lost in the crowd of children. Bob is seized by panic. On the very first day, he has lost the child entrusted to him. Fortunately, he soon spots the little girl on an escalator. To catch up with Nora, he jumps on a large piece of cloth from a height. At the time of the reunion, Bob gets a call from Ian's school, asking him to come over urgently. The principal complains that the boy keeps making up different stories and needs to stop lying. Ho tries to convince the boy that lying is a dangerous game. In the hallway, they run into the bullies, who again threaten Ian with reprisals. The boy immediately lies that Bob is his personal bodyguard. The man decides not to confront the bullies and politely asks them to pass, which enrages Ian. He thinks his neighbor is simply chickening out. They pick Gillian up from gymnastics class and she happily hugs her little sister. The girl still treats Bob with disdain, seeing him as a threat. At the secret hideout, Poldark is again unhappy with his outfit. He arranges the first test of the substance by pouring a vial of the bacteria into a puddle of oil. The substance instantly corrodes the petroleum product and even Tatiana's shoes, which contain particles of plastic. Poldark is completely satisfied with the result. Now it remains for the bandits to find the stolen formula. Bob decides to have a man-to-man talk with Ian about what happened at school. He assures the boy that he can fight back against the bullies without help. Ian confesses that he makes up all kinds of cool stories about himself to get the girls to like him. He is the smartest student in his class and has many good qualities. But he's no Elon Musk and no one is interested in his knowledge of space. Bob promises not to tell Gillian what he did if the boy promises not to lie anymore. By evening, Nora completely exhausts Ho with her hyperactivity. The child falls asleep only after the man sings her a Chinese lullaby. Powerless, he calls Colton and asks his comrade to bring him various spy gear. Before he goes to bed, Bob puts out decoys and security cameras around the house to prepare for a new day with the kids. In the morning, the rules of the game change. He uses gadgets to open the bathroom door for Ian, controls Farren's clothing choices, and quickly tracks the location of the missing Nora. He even uses gadgets to cook food. The children decide to have a prank on the temporary babysitter and lock the front doors. But the experienced spy uses his tuck-ins and sneaks into the house unnoticed by the kids. The day passes easily and cheerfully for Bob. In the evening he spots a sad Farren on the roof and decides to keep her company. They have a heart-to-heart talk and the girl tells Ho that her real mother is dead. With her father gone, she considers herself the black sheep of a strange family. At the end of the conversation, Farren realizes that her neighbor is not such a bad person. Bob lets her out onto the roof, but offers to put up fences for safety. Tatiana finally manages to figure out the address where the secret formula file was downloaded. Poldark orders her to remove all witnesses. In the morning, Bob helps Ian change his image a little to please the girls. He also gives him the rare music disc that will wow all his classmates. At school, the boy immediately attracts the attention of a pretty girl. Meanwhile, Russian bandits break into Bob's house. After searching the whole house, they realize that the file is on a removable media, which Ian took with him to school. Once Ho returns home, Tatiana orders the bandits to capture him, but not to take him down. The spy must tell Poldark who else knows about the secret formula. While Bob fights the thugs, Tatiana chases after little Nora. The girl bites the gangster and screams at Ho to save her. He manages to scatter his opponents around the yard and catches the girl before she falls into the pool. Realizing that he is putting the family in danger, Ho picks up the children from school and takes them to a Chinese restaurant. On a secret line, he contacts the CIA and asks them to send help. At the restaurant, The children meet a charming guy named Larry, who introduces himself as an ordinary student. The teenager does not inspire confidence in Bob and he decides to check him out. The spy asks him some probing questions about his personal life and suddenly switches to Russian. By inertia, Larry answers him in Russian and reveals his real identity. Bob tells the kids to hide and starts fighting with the teenager. After a brief fight, Ho drives the boy out of the establishment with the help of a chair. The spy is approached by the stunned children and they demand an explanation. The man admits to them that he is an international undercover agent, but the kids don't believe him. Bob's boss, Glaze, arrives at the restaurant. He arrives without backup, which alarms Ho. Glaze immediately starts questioning him about the secret file and Bob realizes that he too works for Poldark. The corrupt agent threatens his colleague and sticks his hand in his pocket looking for the file. All the while, the children's pet turtle has been hiding there, which immediately bites the rogue agent. With the help of the pet, Bob knocks Glaze out and takes the children away. Now Ian is thrilled with his future stepfather, who turns out to be a badass spy. The group goes out of town, where they get rid of the bug watch that Larry and Glaze used to track them down. Bob gets a call from Colton asking about decrypting the file. Ho can no longer trust his partner, for he, too, may be a mole. Afterwards, they go to a roadside motel to spend the night and consider their next plan of action. Farren calls her stepmother and tells her the truth about Bob. The woman doesn't believe her daughter's story at first, but Ho confirms her words. He apologizes for putting her children's lives in danger. Shocked, Gillian rushes to the airport to catch the first plane back to her family. Ian asks Bob to show him various spy gadgets. The man pulls out a belt that turns into a fighting stick in one motion and activates a ring that can cut through any material. The boy admires the cool stuff and wants to take it for himself. At night, Farren cannot sleep because of his brother's snoring and her guilty conscience. She goes to see Bob and confesses that she is not at all proud of what she has done. She asks Ho not to give up and fight for his love. But the man no longer wants to put their lives in danger and decides to disappear from Gillian and the children's lives. He tells the girl that he grew up an orphan and the children in the orphanage replaced his relatives. Bob asks Farren to give her new family a chance as well. In the morning, an angry Gillian arrives and slaps Ho in the face. He tries to apologize, but she remains adamant. She sends him away and tells him never to come near her family again. The younger children cry and beg Bob to stay, for they have grown to love him. Farren is upset, too, but doesn't show it. Ho realizes that there may be another spy on the staff and decides to deal with the Russian mafia alone. He puts back the watch with the bug so that the bandits get on his trail. Ian sees his neighbor as a role model and decides to become a spy, too. He dresses in black and rides off on a bicycle to an unknown destination. Bob lures the Russians into an abandoned building and sets up cameras and microphones everywhere. Suddenly, Ian, who has discreetly planted a surveillance sensor in Ho's pocket, drives up to the building. Almost immediately, the criminals show up and grab the boys. The boy criticizes the clothes of the gang leader, who never managed to find a suitable image. Tatiana discovers the recording devices in the building. Glaze tells Bob the reason he betrayed his country. The formula will destroy the world's oil reserves, after which Poldark's people will become millionaires. The boss also tells him that Colton is a simpleton and is not involved in the criminal conspiracy. Larry brings in Farren, who decides to follow her brother. Bob begs the gangsters to let the kids go and promises to find the file for him. Then Ian confesses that he downloaded it to his player and, without thinking, immediately surrenders its location. Half of Poldark's men go to their house to get the file. The gang leader, Glaze and Larry stay behind to get rid of the spy and the children. Bob discreetly cuts through the straps with his ring. Even while strapped to a chair, Ho deftly defends himself against his attackers and frees himself from the shackles. He single-handedly beats up every bandit, and the children watch with admiration at the spy's skill. On the way home, Bob tries to warn Gillian of the danger, but she doesn't want to hear anything and hangs up. Ho calls Colton and turns on the recording of the gangsters' conversation, which Ian secretly recorded on his phone. He asks his partner to send backup to him. Fortunately, Bob gets to Gillian's house first and tells her and her children to go up to the second floor before the Russian mob comes after them. Ian hands out stolen spy gadgets to the family for protection. Farren uses a lighter and sets fire to a Russian who tried to break into their house through the window. The bandits break into the house and Bob fights them with the help of whatever tools are available. Upstairs, the kids successfully attack the big guys with spy gadgets. Nora punches a Russian through a wall with a super pen. Gillian goes downstairs and helps her boyfriend knock out one of the bandits with a door. They find time to figure out their relationship while simultaneously fighting off the armed mobsters. Out the window, Farren notices Poldark and his associates approaching the house. Bob tries to attack them with his belt, but realizes that Ian has swapped it as well. At this time, the boy beats one of the thugs with his transformer belt and pushes him out the window. After seeing this scene, The school bullies decide that they will never bully Ian again. Farren comes to Bob's rescue and drops a television set on Larry. The spy is left one-on-one with the Russian mobster and defeats him in a virtuoso battle. Ho wants to take Poldark into custody, but Glaze puts a gun to his back. The spy begs the traitor to let his family go, but he is going to get rid of all the witnesses. Gillian runs to her boyfriend's aid and hits the bandit with a bottle of detergent. The happy Bob wants to hug his beloved, but she is still angry with him. When all the villains have already been defeated and are lying senseless, Colton shows up at the house with the SWAT team. Ian gives the agent the secret file with the formula and he praises the boy for his ingenuity. Bob apologizes to his partner for doubting him. All the criminals are apprehended and sent to prison. Bob, as promised, says goodbye to Gillian's family and plans to disappear from their lives forever. To everyone's surprise, Farren stands up for him. She calls Gillian mother for the first time and asks her to ask for Bob to come back. The younger children join her and, after their plea, the woman gives in. And finally, a happy ending approaches. Bob and Gillian are married and make their vows to each other before the altar. Before kissing his wife, the spy confesses that his name is also made up. Gillian laughs happily, because she doesn't care about it anymore. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you liked the video please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.